He kicked the door open with the barrel of his gun already raised. The plate shattered before he saw who dropped it. "Don't shoot." The voice was small. Not shaking. Just steady. He stepped inside slow, boots pressing into a floor that had been swept clean. The table was set. Firewood stacked neat. His chair pulled out like someone had been waiting. "Who are you?" he asked. The child stood near the hearth, barefoot, dirt along the cuffs of oversized pants. "Who are you?" the child replied. His jaw tightened. "This is my ranch." The child blinked once. "No, it ain't." He moved the gun a little higher. "Say that again." The child didn't flinch. "It belongs to the dead." Silence spread between them like smoke. He studied the kid. Too calm. Too still. Not hungry. Not scared. Just watching him like he'd been expected. "Where's your family?" he asked. "Gone." "Where'd they go?" "Same place as yours." His finger tightened on the trigger. "You don't talk about them." The child tilted their head. "Why?" "You don't?" He stepped closer, gun still raised. "How long you been here?" "Long enough." "That ain't an answer." "It is if you listen." He glanced around again. His tools were oiled. The stove cleaned. Someone had fixed the loose hinge on the back door. "You alone?" "Mostly." "Mostly?" "Sometimes it gets loud." He frowned. "Loud how?" The child's eyes drifted to the ceiling. "At night." He followed the glance. The roof was patched where it had burned years ago. He swallowed. "Who sent you?" "Nobody." "Sheriff?" "No governor?" "He's not coming back." The way the child said it made his chest tighten. He lowered the gun an inch. "What's your name?" The child shrugged. "You tell me." His voice hardened. "Don't play games." "I'm not." He stepped fully inside and nudged the door shut behind him with his heel. The air smelled faintly of smoke, though there was no fire lit. "You been sleeping here?" "Yes." "In my house?" "It was empty." "Not anymore." The child nodded once. "I know." He finally lowered the gun to his side but didn't holster it. "You got no right." The child's face didn't change. Neither did they. The words landed heavier than the gun in his hand. He walked past the kid toward the mantel, needing something solid to hold onto. That's when he saw it. The sheriff's old badge nailed crooked above the fireplace. It hadn't been there when he left. It hadn't been there the night everything burned. He stared at it. "Who put that there?" The child didn't answer. He turned sharply. "I asked you something." The child met his eyes. It was already watching. His throat tightened. "Watching who?" "You." He reached up and tore the badge from the wall. The nail scraped free with a sharp sound. He held the metal in his palm like it might bite. "This don't belong here." Neither did she. He froze. The room felt smaller. "Don't." The child took a slow step forward. "You came back." "I had to." "Why?" "Because it's mine." The child shook their head gently. "No." "Because it's not finished." He let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. "You don't know a damn thing about what happened here." The child's voice softened but didn't weaken. "I know," she screamed. The words hit him harder than any bullet. His hand dropped to his side. "You weren't here." "I was." He stared at the kid, searching for a lie, for fear, for anything human he could read. There was something there, but it wasn't simple. It wasn't small. "You got no business saying her name." "You don't say it either." His jaw clenched. "That's enough." The child's gaze drifted to the window as if hearing something far off. You came back late. He followed the child's stare but saw only the dark field stretching quiet and empty beyond the glass. What's that supposed to mean? He asked. The child looked back at him, eyes steady and old in a young face. It means they've been waiting. He stood in the doorway, the sheriff's badge heavy in his palm, its edges cold against his skin. The child's eyes followed him, calm, patient, unsettling. Who put this here? He asked again, voice low. I didn't, the child said, shrugging, hands tucked into pockets too big for them. He dropped the badge onto the table. It clinked. Then who? The child tilted their head. It was already watching. He gritted his teeth. What's that supposed to mean? It's yours, the child said softly. Don't. He clenched a fist. Don't what? Don't lie to yourself. Silence stretched. He paced the room, boots echoing against the clean floor. You know my name. The child's lips curved slightly. I do. Not that one. Not the one they called me. That one too. His stomach tightened. How the hell? I hear things. From who? From what stays? He froze, eyes narrowing. Shadows of the past crept into the corners of the room. 10 years flashed in fragments, fire, screams, the smell of smoke, betrayal, her face. He shook his head. I buried that name. You buried a lot, the child said, voice even. He turned on them. You don't understand. Try me, the child said, stepping closer. He could see the dirt on their hands, the scuff on the knees of their pants. It shouldn't matter. But it did. Where'd you hear it? He demanded. From the walls, the child said. From the floorboards. From the ghosts? From what never left. His fingers curled around the edge of the table. He remembered the well behind the barn. The well where? The governor's men had disappeared after that night. The rope frayed. The bottom dark. Empty, or maybe full of secrets. You've been to the well? The child didn't answer. Answer me. I told you. I hear things. He shook his head, voice rising. You know too much. Enough, the child said. Enough to make you come back. His mouth went dry. You mean, don't go down there alone. He blinked. Why? The child's eyes met his. It remembers. His chest tightened. That well. The bones. The fire. Horror. He swallowed hard, trying to push the memory away. You hear everything? Not everything. But enough to scare me? I hope so. He took a step back. The air felt thicker. The sun was dropping behind the hills, and shadows pooled across the floor like ink. Who left you here? He asked. Nobody, the child said. Who sent you? Nobody. You sure? Yes. He stared. You're lying. Not this time. Silence. He looked at the chair, at the floor, at the hearth, at the empty spaces that weren't empty. You know about her? The child nodded. I saw. Saw what? Everything. His jaw tightened. What did you see? You. He scoffed. Me? You leaving. Me returning. You failing. He could hear it, the memory soaked in smoke and ash, in pain. You shouldn't be here, he said finally. The child tilted their head. Why not? Because it ain't safe. Safe for whom? For you. I can make it safe, the child said. He laughed bitterly. You? You can't even walk the yard without kicking up ghosts. I walk where they let me. Who let you? You did. His fists dropped. He pinched the bridge of his nose. Damn it. It's already begun, the child said. What's begun? You coming back. He glanced toward the barn. The well waited. Darkness yawning inside it. You were in that well, he said. No, the child said. I've been around it. Around it? It listens. You listen. Sometimes it speaks. He took a step toward the door, boots scraping, hand twitching toward the gun. Why are you still here? The child stepped closer, almost daring him. Because you didn't finish. He froze. Finish what? What you started. He swallowed hard, eyes flicking to the empty walls, the neatly stacked wood, the table set like it had always belonged to someone. You don't know anything about finishing. I do. He glanced at the child again, the way they stood, waiting, unmoving, patient. You're not human, he muttered. Maybe not, the child said. Maybe more. He turned abruptly. You're lying. I don't lie. Then how do you know? Because I stayed. Because I remember. Because she waited. She waited? His voice caught. Your wife, the child said simply. She stayed. His head jerked back. Stayed where? Here. He stared at the empty walls, the table, the clean hearth. Stayed here? Yes. A chill ran through him. His throat went dry. That's impossible. No, the child said. It's possible. Everything you think is gone, isn't. He exhaled slowly. You're lying to torment me. The child shook their head. I'm not. You came back. You should see for yourself. He swallowed. The room was quiet except for the wind brushing against the boards outside. The air smelled faintly of smoke. His hand drifted back toward the badge on the table, heavy and solid. I should check the well, he muttered. You should, the child said. Now. Before it tells lies. He hesitated, eyes flicking to the door, the barn, the field stretching dark beyond. Lead the way, he said finally. The child smiled faintly. I already have. And together, they stepped into the yard where the well waited like a dark mouth, patient, knowing, watching. He stepped into the yard, boots crunching on dry dirt, eyes fixed on the well. The cover was off. Rope tied fresh, frayed slightly at the edges. Darkness yawned inside, black and deep. You put that rope there, he demanded, voice low. The child shook their head. No, then who? They never left, the child said. He froze. The wind picked up, whispering through the grass. Somewhere far off, hooves hit dirt hard. He turned sharply. Horses. The sheriff's men. He gripped his gun tighter. Two deputies, older now, faces lined with years of smoke and authority, and the sheriff himself, riding like the land was still his. Well, I'll be damned, the sheriff said, dismounting slowly, eyes scanning the yard. You should have stayed gone. It's my land, the outlaw said, chest rising. You forfeited it, the sheriff spat. The child watched silently, calm, hands tucked into pockets. Who's that kid? The sheriff asked, glancing down. None of yours, the child said. The sheriff frowned. You didn't bury them deep, the child added quietly. The sheriff's hand twitched near his belt. What the hell do you mean? The child didn't answer. The outlaw's jaw tightened. You keep that kid quiet, the sheriff said, voice sharper now. You scared of children now? The outlaw's laugh was bitter. I'm scared of truth. The sheriff stiffened. Truth? You think you know truth? I know enough, the outlaw said, stepping closer to the well. The deputies shifted uneasily. The state owns this ranch now, the sheriff said, voice louder, almost shaking. Governor signed the papers. The outlaw laughed, short and harsh. State don't bleed in this dirt. The child's eyes darted to the dark hole. They're lying, they whispered. About what? He asked. About who's down there, the child said. He looked down at the well. The blackness seemed alive, breathing. Memories pressed in: fire, screams, betrayal, her face. He exhaled slowly. I'll see for myself, he said. The sheriff stepped forward. You're making a mistake. I made plenty already, the outlaw said. Don't add to the list. One deputy shuffled closer. Boss, maybe we should. The sheriff cut him off. Stay. Let him dig his own grave if he wants. The child crouched slightly, hands brushing the dirt. You shouldn't go alone, they said softly. I've been alone before, he muttered. Not like this, the child said. He froze. Not like this? It remembers, the child said again, voice even. And it's awake. The sheriff cursed under his breath, watching the tension stretch. Enough of riddles, he barked. The outlaw ignored him. He uncoiled the rope, testing the weight. The dark hole seemed to swallow light, to pull at his chest. If someone's down there, the sheriff said, voice tight. They'll stay there, the outlaw said. You can't stop what's already buried. The child's lips pressed together. You always knew this would happen, they said. Knew what? That you'd come back. His stomach twisted. You don't know me. I do, the child said. I saw everything. He looked at them, searching for fear, for truth, for anything to hold on to. Nothing moved except the rope and the shadows. He stepped toward the edge of the well. It's deep, the child said. I know. You shouldn't follow, he said. I never leave, the child replied. He paused, hand gripping the rope. The sheriff muttered something under his breath and took a step back, uneasy. Go slow, the child said. Or it will pull you under. It won't pull me under, he said, voice firm. Not this time. He tied one end of the rope to a post and began to lower himself. The rope shifted, rubbing against stone, scraping lightly, whispering. The wind whistled, carrying voices from years ago, from fire and smoke and ashes. He went down inch by inch, eyes adjusting to nothing, the child's quiet voice echoing in his head. Remember what stayed, the child said. And who stayed with it? His hand touched mud, cold and wet. He froze. Bones. Human. 2 of them. One with a ring glinting faintly, a governor's ring. Memories slammed into him, the fire, the screams, her body, the accusation, the treason. He swallowed. Above ground, the child watched, silent, small hands tight at their sides. She stayed, the child whispered. She waited, they added. The outlaw's chest tightened. He tried to speak, but no words came. The sheriff's voice called from above. What in God's name? He ignored it. His fingers brushed more bones. Mud clung to his hands. You came back, the child said from the yard. I did, he said, voice cracking. To see the truth. It's here, the child said. Right here. He nodded slowly, trying to keep himself steady. And what now? You finish, the child said. He looked up at them, sunlight fading over the hills, shadows pooling, cold and heavy. The wind carried smoke smells from long ago. I have to, he said. You always have, the child whispered. The sheriff muttered curses again, but he didn't come closer. The deputies shifted uneasily, eyes wide. The outlaw pulled himself from the well, bones in hand, mud coating his boots, chest heaving. We'll clean what we can, the child said softly. But the rest stays. He nodded, finally understanding. Not everything could be fixed. Not everything could be buried. Then we begin, he said. The child followed, small shadow moving beside him, both of them staring at the yard, the well, the land, and the dark edges of memory that never let go. The sheriff watched them, powerless, as a wind whispered through the broken boards of the house, carrying echoes of fire, grief, and waiting. The outlaw's hands trembled slightly as he looked at the child. You weren't supposed to be here, he said. I was, the child said. And I waited. Silence fell heavy, broken only by the soft creak of the well and the distant footsteps of horses retreating. He let out a breath, bitter, ragged, full of something like relief and dread at once. "Then it begins," he whispered, and together they turned toward the house, Bones clutched tightly, knowing the past wouldn't rest until they faced it all. He climbed from the well, mud caking his boots and hands, the bones heavy in his grip. The air felt sharper now, carrying the smell of wet earth and old smoke. The child followed, quiet, eyes fixed on the grim collection in his arms. "They're real," he said, voice rough. I thought it was just memory." "It wasn't," the child said. "Nothing about this place is just memory." He set the bones on the floor, arranging them carefully, almost reverently. One of the skeletons wore a governor's ring, dull and scratched. His stomach churned. "She was here," he muttered. "Who?" "My wife." They burned her." The child didn't flinch. "I know." "You know?" His voice cracked. "You were there?" "I wasn't there." "I saw it here," the child said softly. "Through what stays?" He exhaled slowly, looking down at the bones. His chest ached. Memories pressed against him, fire licking the house, screams splitting the night, betrayal burning hotter than flames. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" he asked. "They didn't want you to remember," the child said. "They wanted you gone." He shook his head. "Gone?" "Dead or hiding," the child said. "You chose to return." "That's why I waited." He clenched his fists. "I didn't know. I couldn't know." "You always knew," the child replied. "Somewhere in here," the child tapped their chest lightly. "You remembered, but you buried it." He swallowed, voice hoarse. "I buried more than names." "And it stayed," the child said. The wind picked up, sweeping dust across the yard. He looked at the barn, the well, the empty spaces that had never been empty. "I should have died with her," he whispered. "You didn't," the child said softly. "You stayed." He sank to the ground, one hand on the bones. "How can I face them?" "Face what?" the child asked. "The truth. The sheriff. The men. The fire. Horror." The child crouched beside him. "You face it by standing," they said. "That's all you can do." The sheriff's voice rang from the road, distant but sharp. "What the hell are you doing down there?" The outlaw didn't answer. "You're not leaving," the child said. "I never left," he muttered. "I didn't," the child said. "You weren't gone. You were always here." He ran a hand through his hair, grit and mud clinging to his skin. "Everything's wrong," he said. "Everything that should be gone, isn't." The child nodded once. "Nothing dies here that matters." His eyes narrowed. "So the sheriff will come back." "He will," the child said. "And he'll see." "See what?" "The bones. The truth." What stayed when he thought it would vanish? He stood slowly, lifting one of the skeletons to place it near the barn door, arranging it like a warning. "I don't know if I can face him," he muttered. "You can," the child said. "Because you already faced worse." He paused, looking at the child, small but steady, silent yet unafraid. "Why are you here?" he asked again. "Because she stayed," the child said. "Because you returned." The wind whispered around them, carrying faint echoes of screaming, fire, smoke, and memory. He looked at the bones again, at the ring, at the dirt-caked hands. "I didn't think they'd last," he said. "I didn't think anyone would remember." "I did," the child said softly. "And I waited." Silence fell over the yard, heavy and thick. The sheriff's horse hooves echoed faintly, distant but drawing nearer. The outlaw's chest tightened. "What now?" he asked. "Now," the child said, "you make them see." He clenched the bones, one by one, heart hammering. "Make them see what?" "Everything," the child said. "Everything they thought they hid." The wind shifted, carrying shadows across the ground. He felt the weight of her absence, of all that had been lost, and of the truth that refused to die. "Then we begin," he said finally, voice firm. The child's lips pressed together. "The sheriff?" he asked. "He'll come," the child said. "And he'll see." He exhaled slowly. "I hope he remembers who he is." "He will," the child said. "Or he will learn too late." The outlaw straightened, boots pressed into the dirt, mud clinging to his jeans. The bones rested against the barn door, silent testimony. The air felt alive, thick with expectation, grief, and something darker that pulsed beneath the soil. "I never thought I'd come back," he muttered. "I did," the child said. "Because it was time." He ran a hand over the mud-streaked wood, over the bones, over the earth. "It's here," the child whispered. "Right here," they said again. "Everything we buried, everything that stayed, it's all here." He nodded slowly, trying to steady himself. "Then we face it." "Together?" the child asked. "Together," he said. The sheriff's voice was closer now, angry and uncertain. The deputies were silent behind him. He felt the weight of the past, the fire, the screams, the betrayal pressing against him. "Then it begins," he said quietly, looking down at the bones and up at the child. "It always begins this way." And together, they moved toward the house, the well, the yard, all of it charged with the past, waiting, watching, and never letting go. He didn't speak again. He didn't need to. The child stayed beside him, silent and steady, and for the first time in years, the outlaw felt something he hadn't expected. He wasn't alone in the reckoning. They stepped back into the house, mud still clinging to boots and hands. The outlaw set the bones down near the hearth. The child followed quietly, eyes scanning the walls as if reading memory itself. "You weren't supposed to be here," he muttered, voice low. "I was," the child said. "I never left." He shook his head, brushing dust from his sleeves. "You're not real," he said. "I should be alone." The child stepped closer. "I am real," they said softly. "More real than anyone who left." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "I stayed," the child said, voice calm. "I waited." "For you." "For her." "For what comes next?" He turned sharply. "For her?" The child nodded. "She was here. She never left." His chest tightened. "You mean my wife?" "Yes," the child said. "And more than that." "You know it." His eyes narrowed. "You're lying." "I don't lie," the child said. Silence settled. The air smelled faintly of smoke, mud, and old wood. "How can you know?" he asked finally. "Because I watched," the child said. "Because I stayed where others ran." He looked around the room, the table set, the clean hearth, the patched walls. "So everything, all this, it wasn't empty?" "Never empty," the child said. "Never abandoned. Never quiet enough for them to forget." He sank to the floor beside the bones, running his hands over the mud-streaked wood, the cold metal, the cracked stone. "You stayed with her?" "With what mattered," the child said. "I waited for you to return. To finish what you started." He shook his head, voice hoarse. "Finish? I don't know what that even means anymore." "You do," the child said. "You always knew. You buried it, but it stayed." He thought of the fire, of smoke and screams, of her face burned into memory. "I should have died with her," he muttered. "You didn't," the child said. "And you came back. That's why I stayed." His hands trembled slightly as he lifted one of the skeletons, holding it gently. I thought no one remembered." "I did," the child said softly. "I remember everything. I waited." The wind whispered through broken boards and open windows. The shadows moved differently now, longer, sharper. You're not just a child," he said, voice barely audible. "I know," the child said. "I am what stayed. I am what remembered. I am what waits." He exhaled slowly, chest tight, eyes flicking to the window, the yard, the well. "The sheriff?" he asked. "He's coming," the child said. "He always comes back." "And what then?" "Then," the child said, "you show him." "Show him what?" "The bones. The truth. The fire. Everything he thought he buried." He gritted his teeth. "I don't know if I can do that." "You can," the child said. "Because you've faced worse. And you're still here." He swallowed hard, looking at the child, small but unyielding. Why do you exist?" "Because she stayed. Because you returned. Because someone had to remember." His hand drifted over the cold stone of the hearth. "I don't even know what I am anymore," he muttered. "You are what remains," the child said. "And what must act." The sheriff's voice rang from the road, distant but sharp. "What are you doing in there?" The outlaw's hands tightened around a skeleton. "Nothing," he said. "Everything," the child whispered. "It's all everything." He looked at the bones again, at the mud-caked hands of the child beside him. "I don't know if I can face him," he said. "You can," the child said. "Because you've already faced everything else." He stood slowly, eyes fixed on the table, the hearth, the walls that had soaked in fire and smoke and memory. "Then we begin," he said, voice low but steady. The child nodded, small hands brushing mud from their knees. "Together?" the child asked. "Together," he said. Outside, horse hooves echoed faintly, closer now. The sheriff was coming, drawn by rumor or curiosity, unaware of the reckoning waiting for him. He felt the weight of the past pressing against him, the fire, the screams, the betrayal, the bones, and the child who had never left. "It's here," the child whispered, "all of it." "Waiting." He nodded slowly. "Then we face it." "All of it." The wind shifted, carrying dust, smoke, and whispers. The outlaw's chest ached. His hands trembled over the bones, over the mud, over what remained. "I never wanted to come back," he said. "I did," the child said. "Because it was time." He looked at the child, then at the house, the yard, the well. "Are you sure you're real?" The child's eyes were steady. "I've never been more real. And I've waited a long time for this moment." He exhaled slowly, adjusting the bones, bracing himself. "Then we begin," he whispered again, voice firm, eyes hard. "And this time, we finish it." Morning light crept through the broken windows, dust motes floating like smoke. The outlaw carried the bones into the yard, the child following silently, small shadow at his side. "You sure about this?" the child asked. "I have to," he said. "It's time everyone sees." Townsfolk were gathering at the edge of the field, murmuring, curious and uneasy. "What's he doing?" one asked. "Showing proof," another muttered. The outlaw set the bones on the ground, arranging them carefully, mud streaking the wood and dirt. He stepped back, chest tight, and the child's small hand brushed his arm. "It's heavy," the child whispered. "I know," he said. "I've carried it long enough." People were closer now, forming a loose circle, eyes wide, mouths tight. The sheriff arrived last, horse trotting, face grim. "What the hell is this?" he barked. "What does this mean?" The outlaw didn't answer immediately. He lifted one of the bones for everyone to see. "This happened," he said. "Here. 10 years ago. Fire. Betrayal. Death." Murmurs rose. "Is that?" "It's proof," he said, voice hard. "Proof that what you buried, what you thought gone, isn't." The sheriff's face turned pale. "You dare—" "Shut up," the outlaw said. "You burned her. You accused her. You thought the state's paper made it right." "She was a traitor," the sheriff snapped. "To whom?" the outlaw asked. "To me. To the law." "To her?" "To the land." "To what?" the child whispered under their breath. The outlaw ignored it. He raised the bones again. "She was pregnant. She was burned alive. You thought no one would remember. The sheriff's hands trembled on the reins. He faltered. The child stepped closer to the outlaw, silent, eyes sharp. You didn't clean enough, they said softly. Not enough, the sheriff demanded. No, the child said. The truth stays. It always stays. A woman from the town stepped forward. I remember the smoke, she said. Others murmured agreement, voices shaky. It wasn't just rumor, someone asked. No, the child said. It was real. And it stayed. The sheriff's hand twitched near his gun. The outlaw's eyes flicked to him, calm, deliberate. You shoot now, he said quietly, and everyone here knows what you did. The sheriff froze. The deputies behind him looked uneasy. You think you have power, the outlaw continued. Power is only what people remember. And they remember. The sheriff's gun lowered, slowly, hand trembling. The crowd murmured louder, tension rising, and the sheriff's authority fractured. The child held their hands together, small, quiet, unflinching, still pressing truth into the world. It's not done, they whispered to the outlaw. Not yet, he said, chest tight. But we've begun. The townsfolk gathered closer, whispers mixing with wind, dust, and memory. One man shook his head. I can't believe it, all these years. It happened, the outlaw said. And it stays. The sheriff glared at the bones, at the child, at the outlaw. His face was red, his authority crumbling. This isn't legal, he shouted. Law or not, the outlaw said, truth is heavier than paper. Heavier than you. The child's eyes scanned the crowd, reading faces, remembering names, recording reactions. You did this, the sheriff said, voice low now. I did this, the outlaw said. And I'll do more if it's needed. But first, they see. Silence settled over the yard. The only sound was wind whispering through the broken fences, through the grass, through the memory-soaked soil. The outlaw looked at the child. You stayed for this, he said. I did, the child said softly. Because it had to be remembered. The sheriff turned to leave, face pale, muttering curses. The deputies followed reluctantly. The townsfolk stayed, whispering, staring at the bones, at the fire's memory, at the justice that had arrived slowly, carried by a man and a child who refused to leave. The outlaw sank to one knee, chest tight, hands hovering above the mud-streaked remains. It's done, he whispered. For now, the child said. For now, he repeated. The wind carried ashes from the past, memory of screams, fire, betrayal, and grief. But there was also something else, a strange calm, a weight lifted by truth exposed, by lies revealed, by the stubborn persistence of what had stayed. He glanced at the child, small and silent, and felt a shiver of relief and fear. We face the rest later, he said. Together, the child replied. He nodded slowly. The sun climbed higher, light catching the mud on the bones, the sweat on his face, the dirt in the child's hair. The past was visible now, undeniable, raw. The sheriff was gone, at least for now. The town had seen. People murmured in shock, anger, and understanding. It will remember, the child whispered. It always does, the outlaw said. And in that moment, among broken wood, mud, ashes, and the silent child who had never left, the outlaw understood something he hadn't allowed himself to feel in a decade. The fire was a memory, but memories could still burn. The child brushed their hand against his arm. And now, he asked. Now we live, the outlaw said, voice low, voice rough. Now we survive. And remember. Always remember. The wind shifted again, carrying smoke, dust, whispers, and the weight of a town that had finally seen. The outlaw stood, bones still in hand, chest heaving, eyes hard. Let them remember, he said quietly. Let them all remember. And for the first time in years, he felt the past settle, heavy, but not crushing. And the child at his side remained small, silent, and unbroken, witness and companion, guardian of the memory, ready for whatever came next. The sun slanted low over the hills, orange and sharp, casting long shadows across the ranch. The outlaw and the child walked the yard together, boots stirring dust and dry leaves. "It's quieter now," the outlaw said, voice low. "For how long?" the child asked. "I don't know," he muttered, scanning the broken fences and the burned patch near the barn. The wind carried faint smells of smoke from long ago. "It will always be quiet," the child said softly. "Until someone forgets." He shook his head. "Then it begins again." "It always does," the child replied. Horses whinnied in the distance, heads turning toward the yard. The sheriff had returned, quiet this time, watching from the edge, his hands empty, face tight. "You think it's over?" the sheriff called. The outlaw's eyes met his. "Not until everyone sees." The child stepped forward, small and steady. "It's already seen," they said. "By me. By him. By the land." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "This place, it's cursed," he muttered. "Cursed by truth," the outlaw said. "Not lies. Not fear. Truth." The child crouched near the well, fingers brushing the rim. "It listens," they whispered. "The well?" the outlaw asked. "Everything that stayed," the child said. "Everything that waits." He exhaled slowly. "I didn't come back for curses," he said. "I came back for memory. For justice." The sheriff moved closer, boots crunching dry earth. "You think bones and whispers will save you?" he spat. "No," the outlaw said. "But they will remind everyone what's real." The child watched the sheriff, eyes wide, small but unyielding. "You can't hide it," the child said. The sheriff's hand twitched. "Watch me," he muttered. "I don't need hiding," the outlaw said. "I need facing. And you need to see." The townsfolk began to gather again, murmuring, shadows stretching long. Some carried buckets of water, some carried nothing, all silent witnesses. "Why didn't anyone stop this before?" someone asked. "Because it stayed buried," the child said softly. "Because they thought it would stay forgotten." The outlaw lifted one of the mud-streaked bones, holding it high. "See it," he shouted. "See what you left. See what burns in memory." The sheriff flinched. The deputies behind him murmured uneasily. "It's just bones," one said. "Bones don't lie," the child whispered. "They never do." The outlaw nodded, chest tight, hand still gripping the remains. "Truth doesn't burn with fire," he said. "It endures. It waits." Shadows lengthened across the yard as the sun dipped lower. The child's eyes scanned every face, every hand, every flicker of reaction. "They remember," they whispered. "Good," the outlaw said. "Then they'll never forget." A wind stirred, carrying dust and echoes from years past, fire, screams, betrayal, grief. The outlaw swallowed. "I almost didn't come back," he muttered. "I know," the child said. "But you did. That's why I stayed." The sheriff clenched his jaw. "You think this proves anything?" he asked. "It proves everything," the outlaw said. "It proves who we are. What they did. What they left behind." The townsfolk murmured again, voices rising, eyes wide. Some turned to leave, some stayed, staring at the yard, the barn, the well, the remnants of memory laid bare. "It's too late to hide," the child said quietly. "It's always too late." The outlaw's hands trembled slightly as he adjusted the bones against the barn wall, positioning them like silent witnesses. "It's never too late to see," he said. The sheriff's hands twitched again, but his mouth closed. No words came. The outlaw's chest heaved. "We face it together," he said to the child. "Together," the child echoed. The sun touched the horizon, fire orange fading into bruised purple. Shadows draped over the yard, the barn, the broken fences. Horses stamped in the distance. The wind whispered through the grass, through the broken windows, through memory and dust. "Do you think it's enough?" the outlaw asked. "Enough," the child said. "No. But it's a start. And that's what matters." The sheriff watched, silent now, the weight of history pressing down. The outlaw exhaled, standing tall despite mud and bone and grief. Then we keep going, he said. No matter what comes. The child smiled faintly, small and steady. We always do, they said. The air shifted, carrying smoke and echoes of the fire, the screams, and everything that had waited. He looked at the child, at the yard, at the bones lined like witnesses against the past. We'll finish it, he said softly. Together, the child said. And as the sun slipped behind the hills, the ranch stood quiet, haunted, alive, memory pressing through every shadow, waiting for the next step. Darkness fell fast, swallowing the yard in black velvet, broken only by the dim light of a lantern swinging near the barn. The outlaw and the child moved quietly among the shadows, boots stirring dry leaves, hearts heavy. It's time, the child whispered. Time for what? He asked. To finish, the child said simply. He clenched his fists. Finish what? Everything, the child replied. The past. The fire. The lies. He glanced toward the road where the sheriff and his deputies waited in silence, tense, rigid. They're watching, the child said. Let them. Let them see death? Let them see truth. The outlaw's jaw tightened. He lifted the bones from the barn floor, carrying them toward the center of the yard. The child followed, small shadow blending into darkness, silent and unyielding. You sure about this? He muttered. I've never been surer, the child said. Then let's go, he whispered. He set the bones down carefully, arranging them like a message, a warning, a reckoning. The sheriff stepped forward, voice low and sharp. Stop this, he barked. You're crazy. No, the outlaw said. You're the crazy one. You thought the past could stay hidden. You thought fire could erase it. The child's eyes scanned the yard, reading every reaction, every flicker of fear. It always watches, they whispered. The fire? The screams, the sheriff said. Everything you buried, the outlaw said. It's still here. And it waits. One deputy whispered to another, uneasy. This is insane, he muttered. It's truth, the outlaw said, voice low, carrying. It's memory. And it remembers. The sheriff's hand twitched near his gun. You think you can make me afraid? He demanded. No, the outlaw said. I think you'll see. Silence fell, heavy and tense. The wind whispered through broken windows, through the grass, through dust and memory. Do you know why I'm here? The child asked softly. Because you stayed, the outlaw said. No. Because you came back, the child said. He swallowed. And what now? Now, the child whispered, you show them. The outlaw's chest tightened. Show them what? Everything, the child said. The fire, the bones, the lies. The truth that stayed. The sheriff's face turned red, jaw tight. I didn't do what you think I did, he snapped. Then explain, the outlaw said. Explain the fire. Explain the screams. Explain her. The sheriff faltered, eyes flicking to the bones, the mud, the remnants of the past laid bare. It was, the outlaw raised one of the skeletons. It was what? Justice? Fear? Power? Or cowardice? The sheriff's gun stayed low. His deputies shifted uneasily, whispers rising in the darkness. It doesn't end here, the child said softly. It ends when you face it. I am facing it, the sheriff spat, voice shaking. You're not, the outlaw said. You've never faced it. Not really. The child stepped forward, small and steady, eyes locked on the sheriff. Face it, they said. See it all. And remember. The sheriff's hands shook. The townsfolk had gathered silently, forming a loose circle, watching, witnesses to the reckoning. Why didn't anyone stop this? Someone whispered. They thought it was gone, the child said. But nothing truly disappears. The outlaw adjusted the bones, arranging them near the barn like markers, evidence, memory made solid. This is the truth, he said. See it. Hear it. Remember it. The sheriff's jaw tightened, eyes wide. I didn't think anyone would remember. I remembered, the child said. I waited. And now you see. The wind swept through the yard, carrying whispers of smoke and ashes, screams and betrayal. You think you're done? The sheriff asked, voice low, trembling. We're just beginning, the outlaw said. We remember what you tried to erase. We carry it. We face it. And you will too. The child's hand brushed the outlaw's arm. It's heavy, they whispered. I know, he said, voice low, gripping the bones tighter. But it's necessary. Silence fell again, thick and tense, broken only by the wind and the distant horses' hooves stirring dust. Do you feel it? The child asked. What? He said. The past. The weight. The reckoning. He swallowed. Yes, he said. It's more than I expected. It's all that ever was, the child said. The outlaw exhaled slowly, stepping back, chest tight, eyes scanning the yard, the barn, the well, the broken fences, the faces of everyone present. Then we begin, he whispered. Together. Together, the child echoed. Shadows deepened as lanterns flickered, casting long shapes across the yard, the bones, the mud-streaked earth. The sheriff remained silent, powerless, forced to watch, as history and memory pressed down, relentless and unyielding. The outlaw glanced at the child, small and steadfast, silent guardian of truth. It won't be easy, he muttered. I know, the child said. But it's time. The wind carried the echoes of fire, smoke, screams, and grief. It carried memory, weight, and inevitability. The outlaw felt it settle in his chest, heavy, real, demanding action. We face them all tonight, he whispered. We do, the child said. And we finish what waited. Lanterns flickered. Horses shifted. Shadows crept. Bones lay bare. And the ranch at dusk, haunted by smoke, fire, memory, and truth, waited for the reckoning that would not let it rest. The first light of dawn touched the horizon, weak and trembling, painting the hills in shades of gray and gold. The outlaw stood at the edge of the yard, boots sunk into dry dirt, eyes fixed on the barn and the well. The child was at his side, small shadow steady and patient. It's quiet, the child said softly. Too quiet, he muttered, chest tight. The sheriff had returned overnight, riding slowly, deputies behind him, eyes wary. This isn't over, the sheriff said, voice low but sharp. It's over, the outlaw said. For you. And everyone who tried to bury it. The child stepped forward, hands brushing against the mud-streaked bones arranged near the barn. They'll remember, they whispered. They have to. The sheriff clenched his jaw. You think this proves anything? He spat. It proves everything, the outlaw said. Fire, screams, betrayal, lies, bones. All of it. Visible. Undeniable. The wind stirred, carrying dust, ash, and memory across the yard. I almost didn't come back, the outlaw muttered, voice low. I know, the child said. But you did. That's why I stayed. The sheriff's face paled as townsfolk gathered at the edge of the yard, silent witnesses, eyes wide. You think they'll believe you? He asked. They already do, the child said softly. The outlaw lifted one of the bones, holding it like a banner, like proof of everything. See it, he said. See what you left behind. The sheriff's hand twitched near his gun. You can't watch me, the outlaw said, voice cold. I'm not hiding. I'm showing truth. That's all that matters. Shadows stretched across the yard as the sun climbed, lanterns long extinguished, leaving dust, mud, and memory. Why didn't anyone stop this before? One townsman whispered. Because they thought it was gone, the child said. Because nothing that stays was supposed to remain. The outlaw exhaled slowly. We carry it, he said. We show it. And we face it. The sheriff's eyes flicked to the bones, the mud, the broken fences, the well, the burned patch near the barn. It's not enough, he said quietly, voice trembling. It's more than enough, the outlaw said. It's visible. It's real. And it waits for no one. The child stepped closer, small hand brushing the outlaw's arm. They'll see, they whispered. Yes, he said, chest tight. They'll see everything. The wind picked up, carrying the whispers of fire, smoke, screams, grief, and memory. The sheriff lowered his gun, shaking. The deputies followed, uneasy, watching, powerless to act. You're breaking them, one whispered. No, the child said softly. We're showing them who they are. The outlaw's eyes scanned the crowd, faces of townsfolk, silent, stunned, uncertain. Do you feel it? The child asked. What? He said. The reckoning. He exhaled, nodding slowly. Yes. And it's heavy. The bones lay bare, mud-streaked and still. Shadows moved, long and patient. Are you ready? The child whispered. I have to be, he said. For her. For them. For what stays. The sheriff's voice broke. I didn't know you knew enough, the outlaw said. You thought hiding it would erase it. It didn't. The townsfolk murmured, some turning away, some watching, eyes wide. It's all here, the child said softly. Every memory, every lie, every truth. The outlaw exhaled. Then we finish it. Together, the child asked. Together, he said. Lanterns swayed in the wind, dust stirred, shadows stretched. The sun climbed higher, casting gold and gray across mud, bones, and broken earth. Do you think it's enough? The outlaw asked. It's always enough when it's remembered, the child said. Then it begins, he whispered. Not with fire, the outlaw said. Not with lies. But with truth. The sheriff lowered his gaze, unable to speak, powerless, forced to watch history laid bare. The wind carried ash, dust, memory, and the weight of decades. We face it all, the child said. Yes, he whispered. Everything. Bones and memory, fire and grief, silence and wind all converged in the dawn. He looked at the child, small, steadfast, silent witness. We finish it, he said softly. Together. Together, the child echoed. Shadows receded, sunlight touched the yard, the well, the barn, and the broken fences. The past stood visible, undeniable, heavy, and patient. The outlaw exhaled slowly, chest tight, eyes hard. Let them remember, he whispered. Let them all remember. The child brushed their hand against his arm, small, firm, and unyielding. They will, the child said. And in that quiet morning, among mud, bones, ashes, and the weight of memory, the outlaw understood, the reckoning had begun. The ranch at dawn waited, haunted, alive, and unwilling to forgive, as they stepped forward, side by side, to face everything that had stayed, everything that would not be forgotten. The sun had climbed fully, golden and fierce, over the ruined fences and scorched patches of the ranch. The outlaw stood at the edge of the yard, chest tight, eyes tracing every shadow, every remnant of fire and smoke. The child stayed at his side, small and steady, silent but present. It's quiet now, the outlaw muttered. Too quiet, the child said softly. It's not quiet, he replied. It's listening. Watching. Remembering. The sheriff arrived slowly, dismounted, hands empty, face pale and tight. You think it's over, he said, voice low. It is, the outlaw said. For you. For everyone who tried to hide it. The child nodded. We've made them see, they said. They can't pretend anymore. The sheriff's jaw tightened. This isn't justice, he muttered. It is, the outlaw said. Justice doesn't wait for papers. It waits for truth. For memory. For what stays. The townsfolk had gathered again, silent, watching, faces white and pale. Some whispered, some turned away, but no one left. Why didn't anyone stop this? One woman whispered. Because they thought it was gone, the child said softly. But what stays, stays. He stepped toward the barn, the bones from the fire laid bare like witnesses. It's all here, he said. Every lie, every betrayal, every scream, every truth. The sheriff's hands twitched.